Hey, it's Thomas here, and today we're going to be taking a look at Brightwell Aquatics Restōr. We'll look at what this coral tissue focused supplement can do for our reef tanks. We'll look at why you might want to be using it, as well as some best practices for when you are using it to get the absolute most out of it, and how this can benefit your corals by providing some very necessary amino and fatty acids. And on that note, no, you do not need to refrigerate it, which is great news since most people don't want aquarium products sitting in their fridge where they've got their food. At least my spouse does. Amino and fatty acids are essential to a number of biological processes, and they are key building blocks for soft tissue in corals. But since they are heavily sought after by just about every organism in our reef tanks, they're quickly used up, and to add insult to injury, they're also removed through protein skimming and other forms of filtration on our tanks, meaning that your tank has a very high likelihood of running low on aminos and fatty acids, and being a closed system, has no real way to replenish them automatically. This can create a pretty significant bottleneck for coral growth and can even be the cause of poor coloration and slow tissue recession in our corals. And unless more amino acids become available, even with all of the other levels being optimal, the corals may be unable to grow or even regrow new tissue, which is a pretty big problem, especially since the majority of corals are now purchased as small frags, sometimes being relatively fresh cuts. Brightwell's Restōr is a mix of both complex and free-form amino and fatty acids derived from marine fishes and crustaceans, and is an abundant source of EPA, DHA, and a variety of other omega-3 fatty acids. It is specifically formulated to provide the essential tissue building blocks to help corals and other marine organisms in our reef grow their soft tissues and provide the needed nutrition corals require to thrive. So when you've made significant changes to your lighting, or have a recently fragged colony, or received freshly cut frags, Restōr is going to help those corals get exactly what they need so that they can settle in or adjust to those changes, as well as throw down that initial base of encrusting growth so that they can thrive. Restōr is available in two sizes, a 250 ml bottle as well as a 500 ml bottle that will treat up to 2,500 and 5,000 gallons of aquarium water respectively when dosed at the recommended 1 milliliter per 10 gallons. Some quick math shows that if dosed using the recommended guidelines on the bottle, the 500 ml bottle of Restōr can last the average 100-gallon reef tank right around 5 months of consistent dosing. So for those with a 50-gallon or smaller reef tank, you'll get close to or possibly more than a year's worth of dosing from that single 500 ml bottle, which is fantastic mileage for 15 bucks. Now, while Restōr at first glance may appear to be the kind of supplement you'd use only when you need to help a freshly cut frag or mother colony, or maybe a damaged coral recover from that damage, the fact of the matter is it is a fantastic amino acid supplement like many others that are out there, so you can use it for more than just that and still benefit through having better growth and coloration like I talked about with that bottleneck. The one big difference is that this doesn't need to be refrigerated. So, if you're also finding you struggle with low nutrients, with corals that grow slower than you'd expect, even with optimal levels of alkalinity and calcium, or they just don't seem to polyp up or color up the way you'd expect, Restōr can absolutely help to get those key building blocks of coral nutrition into your system that can otherwise cause that bottleneck that I was referring to earlier. With that said, Restōr is also a fantastic tool for helping to stop and reverse the symptoms of corals experiencing receding or shrinking tissue that's caused by a lack of nutrition, like this shrunken frog spawn or this acro that's showing signs of STN, as well as any corals that have been damaged, for example, through fragging or even from getting stung by its neighbor. So whether you're trying to help corals recover from those types of situations as quickly as possible, or just want to improve the nutrition in your reef tank for the best growth and coloration possible, Restōr can be a great tool to have. There are two basic ways that you can use Restōr, just about any other amino acid supplement: broadcast feeding and target feeding. To broadcast feed, simply measure out the recommended dose for your system volume and add it into an area of high flow in your aquarium so that it is quickly dispersed throughout the tank, giving all of your corals and other reef inhabitants a chance to take in some of that added nutrition. It is best practice to turn off or to set your skimmer and even your return pump to feed mode for around 10 minutes so that the amino and fatty acids stay in the aquarium for as long as possible and aren't removed prematurely by your filtration. To target feed, add the recommended amount of Restōr to a small container, and then using a pipette, syringe, or similar feeding tool, suck up a portion of that dose and then slowly add it directly over a particular coral that you want to provide that added nutrition to. It is a good idea to turn off all of the flow pumps in your tank during this time so that the aminos are able to sit on top of that coral tissue and aren't immediately blown away. This method works the best for corals that are showing signs of tissue recession or deflation or have any other signs of malnutrition. You can also add it directly to a food that you can feed that coral. So for meteor corals like Micromussa, if you're going to feed them something like mysis shrimp, you can soak the mysis shrimp in the Restōr first and then feed that mysis shrimp directly to that coral. Just make sure that you don't ever accidentally put your feeding tool directly into the bottle of Restōr, as that could contaminate it. You really don't want to get any of your tank water into the supplement and spoil it. Now, because this is essentially a food and does contain nutrients, you don't want to be heavy-handed with it and just dump it in all willy-nilly, since that could cause the overall nutrients in your tank to rise, which might cause some issues with algae growth and the like. So do follow the directions and take it slow. I know the reflex is to move fast when you see a coral that isn't doing great, but slow and steady wins the race. So if you're looking to get the most out of your corals and Restōr matches your reefing mantra, you can pick some up for yourself by clicking right here.